So I got an interesting comment the other day. Yo, dude, love your videos, but I gotta ask, what is your top all-around camera you use? Of all these cameras you've reviewed, what has been your top 3 and why? Oh, are you about to get educated? You'll be dumber after the show.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
I brought you to a lake so hard right now, you can't even believe it. We're on the Sony ZV-E1 to prove a point, because that is the first of the 3. Can you beat it? Probably. Zeiss Batis 18mm 2.8 at 25 to bring this fake lake into your heart. It's not a lake. It's meant for stuff. The hell's all these trucks? Oh, God. I found the most peaceful possible scene close to my house. I was like, wow, that'll be fantastic. Didn't realize that it's a frickin' truck route. So why does the Sony ZV-E1 make my top 3 cameras of all time? Because I've tested pretty much everything, except the odd cinema cam that's like way out of all of our leagues. Sony ZV-E1, you come back to it time after time. I even wrote a list of why I love it and why I hate it. Mostly hate relationship here. So you can't really beat the specs. When Sony designed this thing, basically the A7S III is what we're talking about here, but they shrunk it down so it's even better. It's fine. So the sensor's designed for the best 4K possible. And that's what I love about it. We do not need beyond that. And so this does the best 4K. The 4K 120, it doesn't overheat. The Canon R5 did it first, but like you couldn't use it and you couldn't edit the files either. Ow! Oh, this damn thing pinches my neck. I remember you, sweater, from last year. I hate you. But hot damn, Sony, you got a lot going for you. The autofocus, most reliable. Of all the systems, it's not even close. There's not a close second. There's like pretty good autofocus, and then there's Sony, who invented autofocus. Like it never fails you. If it does, you're just left bewildered. Like, how did that happen? Like something went wrong. You used a Canon battery or something. So it's like, the Stabe even, we're just in Catalyst Browse because you can. It's like gimbal level Stabe if you take the time. Personally, if I was vlogging every day, I would shoot somebody for inventing Catalyst Browse. But if I vlog like once every 2 weeks or something, then all right, you run it through Catalyst Browse, it's very stable. A little 5% crop, it doesn't matter. It's good times. The slow-mo can't be beat, as you're seeing right now, 240 frames per second. Actually, the Nikon's sharper now, but Sony was the one doing that. Full frame, it was the best for the longest time. And this is still like smaller, and the autofocus is better. So the best slow-mo, 4K 120, HD 240, and also just the size of the whole system. Sony, like, it's just a tiny body. They always go for tiny, and that often bites them in their own ass because it overheats. But this one, I have not ever got it to overheat. And the controls, like, I really like Sony menus and everything. People complain for some reason. I'm complaining more about Nikon and Canon than Sony. Everything I need is there, and it's very easy to operate. 14 custom modes in here if you need it. Could you beat it? You can't. So like the size and the lenses and the fact that you have access to Zeiss lenses with native performance. All the Zeiss Batis glass, oh God, ow. The file sizes are ridiculously small and easy to edit. Even 4K 120, I can do like 4 of them stacked side by sides. It's like everything about using the camera is actually quite good. Sony has nailed it. And the last 2 things I love about Sony is almost class-leading dynamic range due to, in my opinion, the largest pixels known to man. 12 megapixels, full frame, it's like, holy cow. Low light performance, I didn't even write that down. I don't even care, but it's funny to be able to use 12,800 ISO as if it was a foot. So it's like the best dynamic range, and also in the Sony ZV-E1 at least, all these fun modes with the tracking, zooming around. It's fun, admit it. But hot damn, how do you beat this thing? Sony is tiny, it's 483 grams compared to any Micro Four Thirds camera. It's lighter, and you got your Zeiss lenses. It's like the whole system. And you can pick anything, your bullshit Sigma glass, your Samyang knockoffs. Oh my goodness, I feel sorry for you, but you'll be okay. You'll sing yourself to sleep. There's problems though, isn't there? Yeah, it wasn't all positive rainbows. I have a little bracket section here, and it's always coming back to the damn skin tones, the green faces. It's just the colors and the over-sharpened image, digital video look, camcorder style. I was watching Julia Trotty reviewing this new S9 lens with the 18-40 versus the Sony, and even she, a professional photographer, was having green-faced Sony skin. I was like, even her, she knows what she's doing. She could tweak some sliders. It's never fixed, and it's bad, and it's the worst part of Sony, and will they ever fix it? And sometimes it's like, that's not bad. I think I prefer the Sony image, but it's like this oversaturated face that's like glowing, too warm. It's never right. I can never fix it. You have to become a scientist just to discover all the different variations, and then your whole life is basically trying to balance orange and red, green and magenta, and sometimes you'll nail it, and then sometimes you won't. And then you'll look at yourself and it's like, damn, every time I do a side-by-side, it's like, oh, I hate you, Sony, so much. But all the other stuff, that was good times. Positive. Ow. I have now hidden the lake from you. I realized you did not finish your homework and you did not deserve dessert. And we are now on the second favorite camera I have. Now, you may be thinking, oh, you're just naming the cameras you own. I own them for a reason. Bought them because they're good. This one, Nikon Z6 III on the Canon EF 85mm 1.2. Ow! I find that this is basically a Sony a7S III, but improved in some ways. With Nikon, you now don't have to worry about the stupid color science that just, it's just good. It's just normal, although it is a stylized look. I'm not gonna lie to you. With these red LUTs, a lot of people don't even like them. I might back off into that lake if I don't keep my wits about me. But Nikon Z6 III, your top 3 cameras of all time, you're there. Nikon color science, you joking? You're like I would say second place in autofocus. Hopefully it's doing it now. Like, we're adapted and I'm like 90 miles away from the camera, but Canon, every time I just turned my head once and then it would hunt in the background. Nikon never seems to do that. So that's good times. So you got the autofocus, you have the same Sony specs, only you've matched and improved some. You got 6K 60, and you're doing RAW. That's 12 bits. That's good times. That means your white balance, when you mess it up, you correct it later with a white card. So the color science is what sells me on the Nikon. It's like, okay, that's a reason to use it over my Sony. Otherwise, I could just have the ZV-E1. When it comes to stabe, amazing telephoto stabe, terrible wide-angle jerky motions. I don't know, man. Like, Sony's really good on the wide-angle stabe, but not so good on telephoto. So it's kind of like Nikon's your wildlife and Sony for everything else. If you're filming other people's slow motion street videography, who cares what they look like? They'll be fine. Green alien freaks. They're good. Nikon's doing animal eye detect. Come on now. Super reliable at times, I might add. And the lenses. They're one of the only ones that actually make modern vintage style lenses. So like, they have a bunch of great options. The 26 2.8, that's a good lens. And the 28mm 2.8, and the 40-22, 35 1.4, 50 1.4. Those are all modern lenses with some pop factor. Nice stuff. And there's more coming. You know it. You know the 85 1.4 is coming, and the 24 1.2, that better be on its way. And the autofocus never loses you, even if you go 900 feet away from the camera. So like Nikon, you could do worse. You could do worse. The 240p is sharper than Sony. Even though it's a 5% crop, that's not a noticeable crop. 4K 120 RAW with a huge crop. But like, that can be an advantage. Wildlife, boom, you punch on in there and it's still 4K RAW, whoa. 6K 60 RAW, we mentioned that. There's a bracket section though, however, and you have a lot of problems. And I hate you so much. Your controls are bullshit. You have a mode dial on the left hand that you have to stab with your finger while you turn it. There's only 3 custom modes. I've already used all of them up, and I could think of at least 3 to 4 more settings I wish I could access quickly, but I cannot. The ISO, I have to hold a button and then switch a dial, and to this day, I don't even remember how to turn auto ISO on and off. I don't even think you can. In like aperture priority, it's auto ISO, and then you can't do manual or something. It's really awkward. Whereas Sony is just like, it has the list of ISO, and then auto is one of those. It's like right there. Everything's always there helping you. Also, judging exposure on this thing is an absolute nightmare. The screen always lies to you. I have no idea if I'm ever exposed, and I'm judging it, and there's a waveform monitor with no numbers. I don't know which lines mean what. And then like on the screen, it's like, that's so blown out. There's no way that could be exposed. And then I get it home and it's like, oh, okay, that was fine. It's a nightmare, a physical nightmare. And your zebras are different numbers than everyone else. I hate you so much. 100% clipping, it makes logical sense. 100% zebras, that's 100% of your exposure. Anything over that, of course, it's clipping. Whereas Nikon's like, 255 is that number for, I think it is. I don't know, you guess, you try it. I'm sick of trying. I'll try your mom. I'll try your mom. And pretty much every video I ever make, someone complains about flickering in the shadows. I couldn't care less. I don't even see it. Like, it's jumping around, there's noise floors and they're dancing. Come on, where's the music in your heart? Let them dance. So like, that's a problem. And the files are definitely noisy, but that's what RAW is. There's no noise reduction at all. And then people do that after. I never do. So like, I appreciate RAW because it's like so detailed. It's like a better, cleaner looking image. I don't mind noise at all. I add film grain to every shot just because I thought a movie did it once. And it could work. Also, these files are huge, 4K RAW, better than Canon, but like, they're still like pretty big files. And if I want to do 6K, which I will switch to talking about the last camera, why not? We'll stop it down and 6K, are you joking? The files are huge, but at least they're easy to edit. It's not bad. And your damn backwards mount will be the death of me. Thankfully, I'm using the Fringer adapter, and now I no longer have to, no, I do. It's so annoying. Righty-tighty, man, lefty-loosey. Let's do the opposite of that. You belong in Australia, but hot damn, Nikon, I actually prefer using you to my Sony for most things. Sony's more of my vlogger, hipster doofus camera. It's like, oh, that's kind of fun modes and gimmicks and like disgusting colors, but I have my Zeiss lenses and it's good. Whereas this is like, okay, that's a nice, pleasing look, filmic. Wow, oh my God. Are you believing it? I stopped it down to Tony 5. 6K RAW now. Come on now. I took, oh, you truck. So for the final camera that I think top 3 all time, things that made magic happen, you know it. You know it already. Fuji X-T4. And you might argue that it has not been beaten in the Fuji universe yet, because the XH2S got worse in some ways. The 240p has a 38% crop instead of 29, and it got much noisier and disgusting looking. You're gross. But the X-T4 had a special place, didn't it? There's just something magical about the image that cannot be topped today. We got dynamic range that beats most full frame. I'm just throwing it. It didn't even have F-Log 2 yet. Didn't need it. As far as I'm concerned, didn't need it. Frickin' that look. The colors, the vintage touch. And the body looked vintage and it was cool. And it wasn't even hard to use for wildlife. Even though it's like photography dials on top, to get to slow-mo, you custom button, and it was just a 2.5-press shutter to go from 4K 60 to HD 240. It's like, come on now. You could keep it in the viewfinder. Okay, boom, boom, bam. Yep. Come on. Fuji did it for you. And all their lenses, they have magic. They have the pop lenses, 35mm 1.4. You're joking. then they have fun like 70 to 300. And with all the crops in your slow-mo, it's like 750 mil. Come on, what more do you want? Also, I found that when I used Fuji, magical things happened. Moments that the universe knew, okay, let's have this special bird do a fancy thing and he'll wink at you. And it's just the moments always, definitely, it can be proven by some, ow. Fuji magic, it's a thing, it's a spec, it's in the spec sheet. The stabilization for telephoto was just hot damn Panasonic level. For wide angle, the X-T4 had smoother IBIS than all the updates. It's just, there was some warpy corners, definitely happened, but it was tolerable. Like for most people, yeah, okay, there's warping, but it's smoother than the XH2S, the XS10, the XS20. It was good times, that Stabe. So it's like, could you beat it? I want one right now. I'm totally gonna buy one. I would probably not buy one today. I'd probably want the XS20 just because it has the custom mode dial on the right side, no lock needed. That would be good times. I think everything else about it would be worse. The autofocus, I think, was updated, but then they updated the firmwares to that and ruined it. So X-T4 had the old useless firmware that somewhat worked some of the time. It was good, somewhat. But if we're being honest, my bracket section would indicate that your Stabe actually sucked a lot of the time. It wasn't perfect. It was just better than your newer cameras. It still lacked hard. Your autofocus was very iffy at best, and it only got worse. You had a 30-minute record limit, so like you just want to do a talking head video and your head has to wait. You know what I mean? The dials sucked. The body had no grip, although it was better than the ZF grip. What's your problem, Nicky boy? So those are the 3 best cameras that I've tested so far. Ones that stick in my mind or that I kept or bought and love somewhat. I somewhat love this camera. It's pretty good. So like, you could do better maybe for some people, but I don't know, man. Like none of the other cameras stick out where it's like, damn, that changed everything. Like the Panasonic G85 was cool for a while, but if you look back at it, the color science in that camera was disgusting. It had no slow-mo. Come on, now these are the top 3. The only cameras I'm even debating right now for nostalgic purposes are the Canon 6D Mark II, just to have a DSLR wielding my Canon lenses in 1080p only. It would just be funny just to see, like that was probably Canon's best color science around that. The 5D2 could be, but it's not usable. Like I have a flippy screen and dual pixel autofocus, and it's like, okay, that's, you might have a better look on the 5D2, but then so many compromises, it's not even worth using. Or the Fuji XS20 with that 35mm, I need to see it. So like I'm kind of considering buying both of those, but anything else is just dumb. All the Canon C70, C80, 400, useless, garbage, and super expensive. What are we doing? You don't even match my Nikon 12-bit RAW. Come on now. I could be in focus. I've never tried it at 25. Usually I lock off the focus. Uh-oh, it's 6K RAW. Those file sizes are big. Oh boy, this was a mistake. I'm leaving now. What are your top 3 cameras? Or just one? Let me know down below. I comment baited you for the algorithmic purposes of me succeeding in life. Bitcoin is also one of those things where help is needed by me. And I walk strange for some reason. Unfreaking believable. I'm overblown. Oh, damn you. Nikon exposure. Subscribe for more videos.